Hey guys, it's the Jimmy fan here on Jimmy Master Animatronics, and what you're viewing here is, I'd have to say that this is one hell of a classic by Jimmy Industries. This is the animated color changing skull in jar. This was sold at 2 locations, same distributor technically, Spencer's and Spear Halloween in 2008. They were quite expensive. Jordan told me he got his for around 30 bucks. And you're saying his as in saying, wait, you got another one too? No, this is actually his. But after you saw the last review of it, that was the last review he ever made of it before it started severely breaking down. Because like almost right after that review was made, maybe a couple days later, he was testing it because he had some friends over and stuff like that. And keep in mind, this thing is entirely string controlled. Every single mechanism, little piece you see that's moving in there is moved by a string. So that being said, right after that, it started giving out. But you gotta give it credit for lasting almost 9 years, almost a whole decade, without even snapping or breaking or anything. Because a lot of these things that you see on YouTube, the videos that are actually up of this guy, they don't work all the way. It's either just the mouth, or it's just nothing, because I remember seeing a few videos to where just nothing moved on it, it was just the lighting. But as he also reminded you in his review, the color changing part did not work. So it got to the point after it broke down so much, he fixed the mouth on his own. That was one thing that I didn't really have to mess with too much, and I double checked it just to make sure it didn't need any like extra modifications, and it doesn't. But the turning mechanism was all tangled up. The motor was actually dying out on that, because even after I replaced the piece on it, it still wouldn't turn. So I got a brand new motor, resoldered some components on it, installed that right in there. And this thing is pretty complicated when it comes to reassembling, because it's got to go back together just right for that head to turn like that. Because the motor is not as strong as you think. But I ended up replacing the string too, because it wasn't the piece that broke; it was the string inside of there that snapped. So with that being said, I replaced the string and the motor and the piece. I gave it a new piece. And finally it started going correctly. Now the major part that I had to work on, and this took several hours guys, was the board in the head for it to color change. Now that's what he was saying, that like he didn't know what to do. He thought the LEDs would just burn out in it, so he opened it up a couple weeks later. He didn't really show this. I don't really think any of those videos got put up on YouTube. They might have, I'm not entirely sure. But he's getting incredibly pissed off with it, so we just said, screw it, I'll just send it to you, because he was sending me a whole bunch of stuff anyways, which the unboxing on that is coming up very soon, if it hasn't already been uploaded already. Because by the time this video goes up, I don't know what other uploads are going to be up, just to let you know that. But yeah, he finally just decided to send it off to me to get repaired. I'm sending this back. This is not something I'm keeping. Unfortunately, it's a pretty awesome item, but, you know, it's his decisions. But anyways, yeah, this thing I actually got it to fully work. I ended up replacing all the little capacitors, or actually no, I'm sorry, resistors on the board. And if you don't know what the little things look like that I had to replace, this is them. These little 3-prong components right here. There were 4 or 5 of these on there, and every single one of them were blown. So I went back there, replaced all those, and voila, it could not be any better. So this thing is now in fully working condition now, and I'm hopeful for years to come. Now I did have some issues with the soldering joints, because the solder would get loose and the lights would start flickering, which is not supposed to happen. They're supposed to slightly color change, and I'll show you that with the lights off in just a few minutes when I start activating it. But with that being said, every single light, it's a row of 3, maybe 2. Actually no, it's 2. Row of 2. There's 6 lights total in its head. It's a little head on this, all on this place on this little board for color changing effects. There's a set of green, there's a set of blue, and then there's a set of red, and you'll see all 3 kind of mixed in there in that skull, and it actually looks really, really cool in the dark. I will not lie about that. So enough of me talking. I'm sure Jordan has described this thing multiple times in the past before to you guys, so here we go. And as you can see in the head, you'll see all those lights. You'll see them better in the dark because there's a huge spotlight just, you know, beaming on this thing. So. And I have to to say this is probably one of my favorite Gemmy Halloween tabletops of the mid-2000s, as I never really got my hands on one back in the day. But I can sure for say I love the animation of it. I've just always loved little things, little knickknacks like this that move their head and mouths. Play in the dark now, and this thing lights up great in the pitch black, and I'll show you that. So that pretty much concludes this review over the Gemmy animated skull in a jar. And oh, I forgot to also mention that this thing can be filled with water, which a lot of people usually don't do because these are pretty highly collectible items. You can fill it to about right here is the line, I believe. Oh yeah, right here, water level. I just don't really see much of a point in that. You know, like I know it makes bubbling sounds, but really would it matter if you put water in it or not? It really doesn't. I don't believe it gives off too big of an effect if you put water in there, but I'm not even going to try that. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this review. Thanks for watching.